What you guys, got another video here for you on how to increase security protection on Windows Defender. Now, I've had quite a few people ask me about Windows Defender and how to make it more secure, or settings that you should enable and disable. So I thought I'd make this a video and try to cover as much as I can about Windows Defender in this video. Now, there is some advanced features that you can enable inside Group Policy Editor, and that's what we'll take a look at in this video. I'll try and keep it as short as I can, but obviously this sort of stuff is going to take a bit of time. Now, also you can enable some stuff in the PowerShell, which I'll try and explain a little bit, but I'm not going to go too much into PowerShell because I think that's another video all by itself, and that's mainly for home users. So let's first take a look at the PowerShell commands, just so you can get a sort of idea of what we're going to be doing here. So I'll leave the link in the video description for this. This is for the documentation for set-mp preferences, and this is what you can enable and disable inside of the PowerShell. Okay, so as you can see here, this is an example right here: set-mp preference space dash signature scheduled day every day. So this means it's going to be scheduled every day. To check for definition and updates every single day. So you can set this in PowerShell, and that is, let me just quickly show you here so you get an idea. So you'd right click and go to PowerShell and open this up with administrator privileges, and what you would do is you would put in this command. Now the dash signature scheduled day is what you'd be changing every single time with one of these here. And you can see here scheduled time. So when you go here, you'll see another type of dash something, and you would change this area inside here for this. It would always be set-mp preference, but you would change that area there. I'll do this in another video because obviously this is going to be a little bit more of a time restraint for me to try and get this done, and also show you the other side of things. So you can see here, there's a bunch of stuff inside here, loads and loads of information. I'll leave the link in the video description for you. So yeah, we'll get on with that one in another video. So now we've got that done, let's take a look at Windows Defender itself and go to Update and Security. Now inside here, we're going to go to Windows Security, and of course this is pretty much the basic stuff of it. So we're going to go into Virus and Protection, Threat Protection here. Now inside here you'll see ransomware protection. Now if you want to manage ransomware protection, you can do by doing controlled folder access and enable this feature. I find that this here in protected folders, this is what's going to be protected, and you can add other protected folders in here. For me, this doesn't do a good enough job at ransomware protection, and I leave this feature off, and I use other stuff like a Cronus True Image with ransomware protection built in it, and that's what I use rather than using this, because I've seen ransomware hit with this feature on, and it still manages to get past it and encrypt all your data. So it's not the best in the world, to be honest, but if you do want to use it, that's basically how you can set it up. You can add in other protected areas here. So I'm going to leave mine off, but if you want to leave that on, you can do. And also by apps, if I was to save, say for instance, this screen capture file in my documents, it would have trouble doing that because it will say it's protected and it won't let me. So I'd have to obviously add in an exclusion for that. So let's go down to app and browser control here. You can see check apps and files, and I've got this on, and I've got these all set to warn here. Exploit protection settings, again we've got our system settings here. You can change these if you wish to whatever you like, and also program settings here, and you can add programs to customize as well by hitting this here, add a program by name or exact file path, and you would just locate that program. Okay, pretty simple stuff. And there's your exploit settings here as well. So with those done, you've got your firewall, but mine is not on because I'm using Zone Alarm, and some people might not like Zone Alarm, but I'm using Zone Alarm here, the free version, and this gives me a lot more better protection. and also allows me to have more control. And also running Malwarebytes, the premium version, alongside Windows Defender, and basically that's what I'm using here as well. And this has ransomware protection on it as well. Now you can use both of these in harmony. I've showed you how to get that working, and basically you can, set this up to how you like. So let's go back to this location here, and we'll take a quick look inside Manage Settings. Make sure you've got all your real-time protection on. Cloud delivery protection is basic, and this is the basic setting. You can do advanced settings in group policy, and I'll show you that in a second. But as for home users, you would have to have this enabled on here, and you can use PowerShell to enable certain features, but that's another video. So let's take a look here at automatic sample submission. Some people are a little bit paranoid about sending samples back because they say that it's collecting data and telemetry. Yes, it is, but obviously it's trying to protect you. So all antivirus programs will send data back. It's just the way that works. Tamper protection is on as well. This stops malware from basically trying to tamper with your security features and turn it off and get you vulnerable. Controlled folder access, this is to do with that ransomware protection there. And you've got add and remove exclusions down here as well. So let's move on to the main part of the video, which is going to be group policy editor. So let's go to GP edit in the search box. So I'm going to type GP edit and then open up the group policy editor. Okay, so I'll try and cover as much as I can, but I'm not going to go like the full beans on this because it will take quite a bit of time, because there's a lot of settings inside here that you can mess with. But what I'm going to do is show you some of the key ones, and you can have a good look when you have time on your own. So you're going to go into the local computer policy here, and then computer configuration, administrative templates, drop this down and go to Windows components, drop that down, and then we're going to go down to Windows Defender, antivirus, pull this back, and again what we're looking for, let me see here, I'll find it, there it is. So here we have Windows Defender antivirus, and inside here you have Windows Defender Smart Screen, Windows Defender Exploit Guard, and so on, but we're just covering Windows Defender here. I'm going to drop this open, and it gives you a bunch of settings which you can play with. The first one which you want to enable, which I've already enabled here, is configure detection for potentially unwanted applications. This is PUPs, what are called PUPs, and basically this is a very common infection that people get. It's adware and stuff like that. You would see this as not configured. You would obviously enable this, and you would have this disabled by default, and you would obviously enable this by putting enable and block. Okay, now this is going to be those stupid junk programs that get onto your system and cause havoc, and they keep popping up and redirecting you, and you get adverts and all that sort of stuff. This is what you can enable. Okay, so next up we're gonna, you can see here, allow anti-malware services to remain running always, and you've got a bunch of other things like randomize scheduled task times, and there's some other bits on here as well. And you can see allow anti-malware services to start up with normal priority. But we're going to go into the first one here. So let's go into client interface. I'm not going to go into too much of these areas. Suppress all notifications. So if you do want to suppress all notifications, you can do right there. And this is your exclusions area. And then we've got maps. Now this is the more advanced stuff here for you to protect yourself, but of course you're going to have to opt in to the maps plan here. So for instance, configure the block at first sight feature. When you click on this one, this is what you're going to be joining. So this is to join the Microsoft Maps, must be enabled. Okay, so we're going to enable all this in a second. So I'm going to enable this. And you can see here, enable block at first sight when it's turned on, and it gives you some information about this here. Okay, you can read all about it join the maps, Microsoft Maps, click on this one. Now when you enable this, you can see it's been disabled by default. Now you've got basic maps and also advanced maps here. If you come down here, it will tell you exactly what it is. In addition to basic information, we'll send more information to Microsoft and about malicious software, spyware and potentially unwanted software, including the location of the software file name and how the software operates and how to make an impact. So basically it's going to send stuff back, and this might not be something that people want because obviously the telemetry side of things, people are worried about data getting sent back. But when you want to give yourself maximum protection, these are the sort of things that you have to opt into, I'm afraid. And of course it's the same thing with any other sort of antivirus. The more information gets sent back, the more better they can protect you with malware and stuff like that. So that is a feature that you would need to opt into. And again, we've got some other areas here, which is configure local override for reporting to Microsoft Maps, and this would be inside here, and you can read this information here. Okay, and also we've got send file samples with further analysis is required. So if they need to further analysis that file, you can set this up. Always prompt send safe samples, never send, or send all samples, and you can set this up to whatever you like here. Okay, let's move on to MP Engine and configure extended cloud check. Now this is going to give you better protection because it's going to be using extended cloud check here. So let me just configure this and show you. Enable, and of course what you need to do here is it's going to put some time on here. So the typical cloud check time is 10 seconds. To enable extended cloud check feature, specify an extended time in seconds. So it will take a bit more longer to scan files, and you can go up to an additional 50 seconds. So if you wanted to add, say for instance 30 seconds, you can do, and that's basically what you would do. Also select cloud protection level, and this is now talking about the protection level via enable here. You need to enable it. Default is on here, blocking level, and you've also got high blocking level, high plus blocking level, and zero tolerance blocking level. Now you can go through here and read what that means. Possible options are these, and you can see what it's going to block. Now be careful when you start enabling the zero tolerance, because if you try to run any sort of applications that are unknown, executables, maybe a piece of software that has not been registered and stuff like that, and it's unknown, it will stop that from running. So for instance, it may be that software video I did yesterday which might not be registered or something like that, and it will be unknown executable and it will block it straight away. Okay, now if that's okay with you, then you can set that up to how you like. If not, you can come down a couple of security levels here for say high plus blocking, and you can read it here, block unknowns, and also apply additional protection measures. So depending on what level you want to set, you can set this to your needs. I'm going to leave this off at the moment, but if you do want it, you can do. Okay, so let's go into some other areas here. So we're going to go to quarantine. You can check out your quarantine folder, and you can configure this area here. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Real-time protection. Again, you can spend a bit of time going through here. And also, let me go into scan here. This is probably another important area where you're going to want to look at. So you can see scan archive files. Set the maximum percentage of CPU utilization during a scan. So for instance, if you find it's hogging your system, you can set something here to sort of bring it down a little bit. If you need that resources and you don't want it doing any of that stuff, you can set it here. It's much more important to do it there. Now also which is another area. Turn on email scanning. So this is more at the business level side of things, but if you have got Outlook or Outlook Express or any of these things you can see here, you can enable this and it will start to scan your inbox and start to search for any sort of ransomware, malware, adware that's been added to those as attachments. It's an added feature which you can add on, and that's not built into the GUI interface on the actual application. You can set it up here, which is a nice added feature. Also, scan packed executables. Again, you can enable this feature as well if you want to. That's another area you can enable. Scan removable drives. So for instance, if you've got USB drives and stuff like that that are getting plugged in, it will scan those USB flash drives when you plug them in. This is an added extra feature which will allow you to stay safe. If there's something on there that you don't want to jump across to your system, you can enable this feature as well. Okay, create a restore point here. You can run full scans on map network drives as well, which is also an added feature to. If you've got map network drives, you can enable this. If you haven't, then don't bother enabling it. You don't need to. Scan network files even. So if you've got files on the network that you want to scan, you can enable this feature and start to enable and scan network files. If you don't have a network files or anything like that, then you don't need to bother enabling these features. You can configure your low CPU priority for scheduled scans here as well. And also, let's have a look here. So turn on removal of items for scan history folder. And you can see here, start scheduled scan only when the computer is on but not in use. So you can set this up. So what this is good for is when you are, say for instance, finishing work, you can enable this feature, and when people have their PC idle, when they go off of work, say at 5 o'clock, the scan will recognize that the PC is not being used and it will start to run scans at that point. So that is a really good feature right there. You can specify the scan type used for a scheduled scan, and this is another thing that you can enable. Quick scan, full system scan. So when that person's not there, it's going to run a full system scan or a quick scan, depending on what you want to do. Also, specify the day of the week to run that scheduled scan. You can set this up as well. People have asked me about this before, and of course this is what you would do. Never, every day, and so on. You could set it up here, and this is how you would set a scheduled scan up with Windows Defender. Very useful for people that want it running at certain times like that, especially if you run Windows Defender. And you can see here specified day and time for quick scan, and also specify the time and day for running a scheduled scan. So you can pick this out here and you can enable this, and of course you can set it up how you wish. Very simple. Now of course there's a lot of other stuff in here, but they are the main security features which will bolster the security of your system. Again, it will have a bit of an impact on the system. You can see here, check for the latest viruses and spyware, security intelligence on startup. If you wanted to set this up, you can do also. But remember, all this does have a bit of an impact on the system and also on the CPU usage. So you need to set this up exactly how you want it, okay? And there's a load of stuff inside here, more than what you would see on the simple GUI interface right here, which is pretty basic. So when you look here, there's not much here, but when you're getting group policy, as I've always told you, you get much more better control of the system using the group policy editor. So this is why this is much more better. You can see here, prevent users and apps from accessing dangerous websites. You can whack this on here, and of course you can block audit mode and set this up right here. So yeah, that's basically what you can set up here. Configure protected folders, controlled folder access, configure allowed applications. So you would put in here show, and you would add in your applications which are allowed. So if you've got 5 applications that client uses, you would set them up inside here, and that's what they would be allowed to use. So yeah, that's basically that. Anything else is going to be blocked. So yeah, that's basically all of that in a nutshell. And you can go through and do some of these other ones, Defender, Application Guard, but that's another video. These are all massively own videos for their own time, because this is so much information here, it would take forever to go through this and probably end up about 45 minutes to an hour long. But anyway, that's basically how you can increase the security protection on Windows Defender. Hope this one's been useful to you. My name has been Brian from briteccomputers.co.uk. I shall see you again for another video tomorrow. Thanks again for watching. Stay safe, guys. Bye for now. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the red subscribe button and then hit the bell notification button and click all to be notified when we upload new videos.